Are you one of those people who dreams of speaking on a stage one day, maybe sharing your message, sharing your story to inspire others, to encourage them and to motivate them? Or are you one of those people who are absolutely terrified of speaking in public, which I think is the case for most of us out there? Did you know that fear of public speaking is number 2 next to the number 1 fear, which is fear of flying? And I have to tell you that my guest today has conquered both of those fears, not only by speaking in public to thousands of people and teaching others to do the same, but also by jumping out of an airplane. Hi everyone, welcome today. I'm Maria Kritikos. I am the CEO and founder of the Ladies Who Lunch Network, LWL, Life Without Limits. We are a global network of women living their dream and making a difference. I'm also the host of hangoutwithmaria.com, a certified law of attraction facilitator and creator of the course Idea to Reality. And today I've asked my friend and founding member, Chantelle Adams, to come hang out with me today and really share some tips, because I find that finding your voice, sharing your message, and turning your idea into reality sort of all go hand in hand. So thank you everyone for joining us today. A special shout out and a hello to all of the LWL members and to everyone watching us on YouTube today. So without further delay, we'd like for everyone listening today to get a lot of value out of this hangout. So Chantelle and I have come up with 6 tips to help you find your voice and turn your idea into reality. So Chantelle, it's a pleasure to be hanging out with you today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how we know each other, and then let's begin and get right into it with your first tip. So hello, Miss Chantelle.
Hello, and thank you, Maria. You are an inspiration, and I'm so excited to be here and to share these 6 tips with the audience listening. And you are an inspiration. I actually met Maria through her Fearless and Fabulous Summit. I saw it being promoted, and I had just recently jumped out of an airplane, as Maria had mentioned, and fell 10,000 feet to raise $10,000 to build a school in Nicaragua. And we also, as part of that project, we were able to get 60 amazing change makers together, including Danielle Laporte, Anisha Moodley, and some other incredible women, to share their stories of courage and co-publish a book. And so we met, and Maria invited me on to be a speaker at her summit, as well as also a keynote speaker at one of her Ladies Who Lunch events. And so that was amazing to meet her in person and to be able to share my message of courage and getting out there and really finding your voice, having the courage and the confidence to share it, and really making an impact in the world through your story and your message. And that's what I'm all about.
That's awesome, Chantelle. Can I just go back to the jumping out of an airplane part?
Of course.
My tagline in the network is, inspiring women to be fearless and fabulous. And being fearless, I always say, does not mean not experiencing the fear. For me, jumping out of an airplane would probably be one of the scariest things that I would ever do in my life, next to riding the roller coaster in Disneyland with my son, which I did do, by the way, but not comparable to jumping out of an airplane. But anyways, if any of you have ever gone on that Disneyland ride called the California Screamer, you know what I mean. But anyways, Chantelle, so going back to the fearless part, let's talk a little bit about experiencing the fear and moving past it and how you felt jumping out of that plane. And did you end up building the school in Nicaragua?
Thank you. Yes, and and I love that you mentioned that, because everyone's fear is different. And so, you getting on that roller coaster is just as amazing and courageous as me jumping out of that airplane. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I had lost a dear friend to cancer about 5 years ago, and in losing her, I really realized that I was alive and breathing, but I wasn't truly living. And what was keeping me from truly living my life was fear. and fear of failure, fear of what others would think, fear of heights, fear of all these things that had stopped me. And so I started my own personal courage revolution, and that's where I wrote down a big list and decided to start crossing off everything that I was afraid of and doing it. And on the top of my list was jumping out of an airplane because I'm terrified of heights. And the opportunity came where one of my good friends said, do you want to go do this? And I knew it was on my list, and I knew I needed to do it. And so I said yes. And a big part of why I started the fundraiser is because I knew that I needed, and this is something you say as well, I needed a why that was bigger than my fear. I needed a purpose, a calling, something that was bigger than just jumping out of that airplane to help me to actually follow through. Yeah. And we were able to raise that $10,000. And just last month, yay!
Let's do a happy dance.
Last month. Yeah. Yes, and then just a couple weeks ago, we were in Nicaragua, and we got to see the school firsthand that we were able to help build, which was incredible. And we were able to do all kinds of service projects there to help the kids and the families that would be able to be going to that school, which was a life-changing experience.
Amazing, Chantelle. Amazing. Yes, I follow you on social media, and for those of you that also follow Chantelle, I did see that, and I was like, good for you, Chantelle. That's amazing. That's so inspirational, and that's really what our network is about. It's about women making a difference and being fearless. So you are a shining example of that, and I'm so honored that you're a part of the network. So let's begin. Everyone, let's get a pen and paper, because I know that there's going to be a lot of very valuable information. And Chantelle, maybe you'd like to start with your first tip for everyone watching us today.
Of course. So what I wanted to talk about today is finding your voice. And the reason I think this is so important, it goes back to having courage and facing your fear of really being seen and really being heard. And I think a lot of the reason why people are so scared to speak in public is because they fear being judged. They fear what other people will think of them. They fear that maybe their message or their story isn't good enough, or that they're not good enough. And so I'm really about challenging those fears and helping you to move through. And one of the ways you can start to find your voice and really have the courage to share it, the first step that I want to share with you is discovering your brand story. Now, every program that I have created, from my center stage program to my 10K product in a weekend, all of them start with this foundational piece of finding your story. And the reason you want to find your story is because it gives you the courage and the why to share it. It shows that you have experience, and no one can judge you because of your story. No one can say that you don't know what you're talking about because you've lived it. Mm-hmm. So those fears start to subside, and you have the courage to then share it. Your brand story is so crucial to really developing and creating programs and being able to create a speech, or even just is the foundation of your business. So one thing I want you to think about, and the way you find that story, is to look back and think, when was the moment where everything changed for you? So when was the moment where you went from one direction in your life to the next? And that path is what led you to doing the work that you are doing now. So
Chantelle, sorry to interrupt you. When you say that moment, do you mean like when people talk about that aha moment, you know, when you get that, like the brick falls on your head? Is it that aha moment that everyone talks about?
Definitely. Yes, and I talk about this a lot. And one of the things that I always say is looking at like the breakdown and breakthrough moment. Mm-hmm. So it could be a series of breakdowns, like where things were going wrong or things were happening or something big happened, or it could be something very small. But usually your big aha moment is followed by one or more kind of breakdown moments. And so that breakdown leads you into your breakthrough. where you get that inspiration, where you get that light. But it's also because a lot of times it brings up something you've known forever or known for a long time, and yet the key is at that moment you took action. So that's the turning piece. That's the story. That's what I call the diamond moment, when you actually took action and went in the direction and to learn the lessons and create the message that you are meant to share with the world.
I like that. Learn the lesson and create the message that you were meant to share with the world. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for that tip. I hope you ladies took a lot of notes. And of course, gentlemen, there are gentlemen that watch our program too, you know. So whoever is watching, I hope you're taking notes. All right. I'd love to share one of my tips. So let's begin with tip number one for me is really, and I talk about it all the time. I talk about it in the Idea to Reality course. It's just something that I know is very important, and it's really to watch your words. Your words are really forming your reality and basically shaping your future. So choose them very, very carefully. Everything that is around you right now, including this hangout with me and Chantelle, I mean, everything around you in your life, whether it's positive or negative, is there because you have attracted it to you. And this is really difficult for a lot of people to grasp, including myself, especially the negative part. You know, it's like, well, I didn't attract I don't know, I always say cheating boyfriend, I'm not sure why, or, you know, there's the job that I hate, or the tiny apartment that I have, or whatever the case may be. But the fact is that you did bring it into existence, whether you were aware of it or not, really, by the thoughts that you were thinking. And you see, every time you focus on what you don't want, you get more of the same. I know it's crazy, but people say to me, okay, that's fine, Maria, so how do I change my thoughts? And really, for a lot of us, most of us go through life with our thoughts on autopilot. We think that we have no control over them, but in fact we do. And the sooner we realize that, the quicker we're able to manifest the life that we dream of. Because we can. We can. Your thoughts and your feelings really create your life. It's really that simple. That's the law of attraction. It's always been that way. It will always be that way, I promise. So, okay, fine. How do you change your thoughts? Well, we do it by changing our words. And how do you change your words? Well, we do it very consciously. We have 60,000 thoughts a day, I think, so we can't monitor every single thought, but we can be very conscious of the words that we are choosing. So in my course, Idea to Reality, I teach you the 3 words to avoid to get more of what you want and less of what you don't. And really briefly, those 3 words are don't, not, and no. Because every time we focus on what we don't want, we're just giving it more attention and getting more of the same. So once you understand this, you really truly begin to master your own life and master your thoughts and feelings by way of choice. And that's when you can create your own reality, really. That's when you can turn any idea into reality. And that's when you're the creator of your own life. And that was my biggest aha moment. And that was when I started the Ladies Who Lunch Network. So my tip is long. Tip number 1 is long, but in a nutshell, watch your words. Chantelle, back to you.
Love it, love it, and so powerful. I know Maria and I were just talking because, you know, we're in business, we're constantly creating and launching and doing new things, and we had this conversation of how you have to be so careful what you're thinking and the energy you're putting out there, especially when you're in the middle of a big launch or doing something, to really watch those thoughts and those words. So thank you for that reminder. Awesome. Now my step number 2 is find courage to be heard. And so it all ties together, but once you really understand your story, it also gives you that courage, a little bit of courage to be like, you know what, this matters. My voice, it needs to be heard, and my story matters. And so it starts to give you that little bit of courage to share it. But what I want you to think about to really help you to move into that courage of being heard, being seen, and it doesn't mean, we're going to talk about this in the next tip, but it doesn't mean just speaking live. It can be what we're doing right here, having the courage to do a webinar, having the courage to do an interview. All of those things make you be seen and really help you to have that voice, and yet a lot of people hide from that. So my tip is to look for your one, or think about your one. And every time that I go out to speak, and I've delivered over 800 speeches now in 5 years, which is
Wow.
crazy. And I was just doing a speaking engagement right before this webinar. But every time I take the stage, I go out there with the intention of touching the life of my one. And I really focus on, and this kind of ties into Maria's tip as well, of those thoughts of that I am here for somebody. Somebody needs the story, the message that I am here to deliver. And I hope to change lives, of the whole audience. I hope to touch their life. I hope to make it better for each and every one. But when I focus on one person that needs my message and know that I am there to serve and give back, it gives me courage. It helps to take the focus away from me and, oh no, what if I slip up, or what if I make a mistake, or what if I don't look great, or if I trip, or whatever. It doesn't matter, because my focus is on my one and just serving and giving back and being an inspiration to them and helping them in their time. And almost always I have someone come up from the audience, a lot of times in tears, but always saying, thank you, I was praying for you, or I needed this message, or I wasn't supposed to be in this workshop and it just worked out that way and I needed to be here. And always, I am so grateful that I focus on the one, because I can touch hundreds, and that's great, but if we focus on the one, it gives us the courage to be heard. Makes it not as scary.
Absolutely. I love that tip. Absolutely, absolutely love that tip. And just talking a little bit about branding and bringing that into the equation, it's okay that you don't reach everyone. You know what I mean? Like, you have a message to share, and your message might be only for, like you said, a certain few people that need to hear it. And so very, very good tip. Very good tip. Thank you, Chantelle. So my tip number 2 is how to identify your passion. So people say to me, Maria, it's obvious what your passion is, right? But like, how do I know, especially when I'm starting out, what is my passion? What is my purpose? What should I be doing? And this is a question that I like to ask them, and a question that I'm going to ask all of you listening today. I say, if all jobs in the world paid the same, if all careers in the world paid the same, and I told you, you know what, Chantelle, I'm going to give you $1 million a month, doesn't matter what you do, what would you be doing? Like, we're all going to get paid the same, but we have to work. So what would you be doing? I think that's a really good question and a really good place to start. Yeah. So, I mean, we all have strengths and things that we're good at. It's just a matter of discovering them. And it's okay to play. Like, I've changed careers a few times. I started out as a high school teacher. I have my real estate license. I started 2 schools. I started a teacher training center, an ESL school, and now, I have the network. And I'm constantly creating, and I'm constantly, I'm an idea generator, I say. I think I've talked to Chantelle about this. I always have ideas, and that's just me. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's really important that if something doesn't speak to my heart, in other words, if I don't get excited about doing something, like this hangout, for example, I'm so excited to be doing this hangout. I'm so excited about every single part of it, hanging out with Chantelle, sharing our message. I mean, everything about it excites me. So if I'm happy doing something, then that's the direction I'm going to go in. I'm not going to worry about the business model for now. I'm not going to worry about can I make money doing this, whatever the case may be. All that will come. I think the most important thing is to follow your joy. So whatever your strengths are, go with those. And I would say choose a business or a career that speaks to those strengths. And most people spend a lot of time kind of improving on the things that they're not good at. And I think that's kind of a waste of time. I say do what you're good at. Don't worry about the other things. We can always outsource. But I have a very good book for you and something that I've read. I read it last year, and it's a great way to identify what your strengths are. So it's called Now Discover Your Strengths. I'm pretty sure a lot of you out there probably have heard of it. Marcus Buckingham and Donald Clifton. It's a great book, and it has a test in there that you can identify what you're really good at. So that's my tip for you. So back to you, Chantelle. Have you read that book, by the way? Have you read it?
Yes, I did that actually because it was recommended to me a while ago, and so a couple of years ago I did it as well. I love personality tests and quizzes. I'm always up for those. But I really I wanted to touch on that too, because it is so true that you do what lights you up, and I just love how you're bringing these tips and the way that you shared that question was a different way than I've heard before. And
I just made it up. I'm like, I'll pay you $1 million a month. What is it that you want to do?
And yeah, for sure. And you know, it's funny because for years I've been speaking and I love it. Every time I take the stage, it's like that rush of fear and nervousness and excitement all in one. And so as you said that, I was like, of course, it's speaking. And it's just interesting how for so many years I knew I also wanted to work with women entrepreneurs to help them to, you know, be able to do something great. And I just didn't know how to position myself or how to use that in a way that I could use my gifts and talents. And it was so funny because it was so close to me that, hello, of course, I would teach public speaking. That's what I do.
Hello. I could have told you that. I'm just kidding.
I know, and for years I knew I wanted to work with women entrepreneurs because of the passion and because it's just, that's who I get and I love hanging out with, like you. You know, we're passionate, we have all these interests, and so it's neat to think about, you know, that in a reverse way, like you mentioned. Well, what would you just do if you were paid whatever? And that would have probably helped me find my answer a little sooner. So thank you for sharing that. And my tip, my last tip about really finding your voice is being able to use your voice actually in your business and finding different ways to use it. And this can be from, and I touched on a little bit in the previous one, it can be from doing videos like this or video blogs, doing hangouts or webinars, doing a telesummit, being interviewed or leading interviews, doing a podcast. There are so many ways to use your voice to share your message and your story with the world and to really take it out there in a big way. And I think a lot of times people hear the word speaking and automatically they think about keynote speakers on big stages in front of thousands of people. But I know even Danielle Laporte, who does do those big keynote speeches now, started with her fire starter sessions in her living room with 8 people just sharing her message. And I think we just need to remember that in having the courage to find our voice and share our story and our message, it can be in so many different ways, and we can use speaking in so many different ways. So what I want to challenge you to think about is, what is one way that I'm going to start right now using my voice, using speaking to grow my business? So I mentioned a bunch here. You can also do your own workshop live. You can do retreats. You could do online events. But think about one way that you're going to start using your voice to make a difference in the world and do what you are called to do and really grow your business, because I really believe that speaking is the fastest way to grow your business, just like we are doing here. So find one way right now, write it down. What are you going to do or start doing that's going to bring your message to the world through speaking, starting now?
I love it. Thank you, Chantelle. Great, great, great tips. And that's very speaking. When you think of speaking, most people, you're right, they think of, you know, a keynote speaker speaking in front of like thousands of people, and you know, all of a sudden their palms start to sweat, right? But thank you for bringing up that. Thank you so much, because you know, like you said, in this day and age, we have the internet, we can do Google Hangouts, we can do podcasts, we can do a lot of things. So yes, thank you for sharing that there is more than just one way to share your message. Yep, absolutely. And I also want to touch a little bit about like the how. This is really important because a lot of people, when they start out, including myself, when I first started the Ladies Who Lunch Network, I didn't know what it was going to look like exactly. I didn't know, you know, what this website was going to look like, or what the programs were going to look like, or the events. All I knew was I was really, really clear on my why, and why I was assembling this group of women. And the how, really, you have to leave to the universe. And this is actually the third step in my Idea to Reality course. It's the allowing part, and it's really believing that once you've stated to the universe what it is that you want, you have to step back and allow. And by stepping back and allowing, I'm a type A personality, which means I'm a little bit of a control freak, and so I have problems with this one. But by stepping back and allowing, it doesn't mean like don't do anything, like just, you know, tell the universe what you want and just sit back and watch it happen. I mean, there is a certain degree of planning and action, but the bigger picture is, as long as it's under that underlying umbrella of belief, like you have to have the belief that it is going to happen without any doubt. That is the most important step to manifesting anything that you have ever wanted. So I teach that step. It's called allowing. It's a very important step. So I don't know how we got onto that. Well, I do, back from your tip. But anyways, so finally, ladies, the third tip that I would like to share with you to turn your idea into reality is really to surround yourself with, I call them the doers. I call them the doers, the action takers, really people that see the greatness in you even when you don't see it in yourself. And there'll be times as an entrepreneur where, I'm telling you, I'm sure Chantelle has experienced them too, and a lot of you listening on the call today, you just want to give up, you know, you just want to give up. And it's just a dip. I promise you, it's just a dip, and you have to keep going. And the way to keep going is to surround yourself with like-minded individuals. So I would say my third tip would be to identify those people, the groups, the networks, the masterminds that you need to work with in order to get you closer to your goal, because no one can do it alone. So hang out with people that have achieved what it is that you want to achieve. And that's why I created the Ladies Who Lunch Network, really is to assemble a community of game changers supporting one another to live out their dream. So that would be my third and final tip. And my favorite expression is, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So choose very carefully. So on that note, I want to thank my friend Chantelle Adams so much for hanging out with me today. This was one of the funnest hangouts I've ever done. It's always a pleasure to be in your presence. You are a breath of fresh air, and I absolutely love your energy. If you want more information about Chantelle's course, of course, it's centerstagecourse.com, and you can see that in her lower third. And for more information on my course and turning your idea to reality, you can visit www.ideatoreality.co. So remember, stay fabulous, be fearless, and keep dreaming with your eyes wide open. Chantelle, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
You are wonderful. Thank you. It was so much fun.
Thank you, Chantelle. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.